here with Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has very nicely agreed to do an interview with us radio folks today, even though this is a TV interview, and we're very happy to have him. Thank you very much, Mr. Trump. We really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
My first question has to do with Governor Chris Christie. What role would Chris Christie, now that he is head of your transition team, be in your administration?
Well, that's a very good question. I like Chris Christie very much. He's a very good friend of mine, and we're very close. We hang out a lot. And to be honest, I don't think Chris Christie is a politician. I don't think he's a very good one. I don't think he should be in politics. I should think he'd be a great chef. He'd be a wonderful chef. He actually looks like he should be on a front of a pizza box. Like
but he is in charge of your transition team.
Yes, he is, but I don't think he really should be. I mean, Mike Pence made that decision, not me. But if it was up to me, I'd put him on the front of a DiGiorno's pizza box, give him a mustache, like one of those big, silly Italian mustaches. And then when he comes into the White House, of course, there'd be a job for him somewhere, probably in the kitchen, in all honesty.
What if he wouldn't take that job in the kitchen?
I would forcibly give him the job. He would have no choice. We got him right here. Let's ask him. How would I employ you? Come here. Come here. How would I employ you? Chris, how would I employ you in the administration? Oh, he doesn't like being picked up, Chris Christie. He's very independent.
I think he is very independent.
Very independent.
Yes.
He is. I like him very much, though. He's very cute.
Can you tell us a little bit about the role that Mike Pence would play in your administration?
Of course, Mike Pence is a fabulous person. I like him very much. Obviously, I made him my vice president. Should I get into the White House? And I think Mike Pence will just do normal vice president things, you know, hang around in the Oval Office, you know, hang out with all the people that come through there, get coffees and teas for everyone, strudels, pastries, breakfast muffins, those sort of things. I don't know if he knows how to make espresso yet. I don't know if he's been trained, but I'm going to make sure that previous to being in the White House that he is trained, because I personally like a macchiato in the morning. You know, macchiato, I'm not sure if you know what that is, but a macchiato it's a delicious shot with just a little foam on the top, and I like it very much. And if he could do that, learn to do that, it'd be very nice.
But you want a vice president to be making you macchiatos?
Well, preferably. I don't know what else he's going to do there.
Some people believe that Mike Pence is more anti-gay than you are. Why would you choose somebody who was so anti-gay?
That's a very good question. And the thing is with anti-gay is anti-gay marriage. You see, I love the gays. I don't want them to get married, though. I love the gays. The gays love me, in all honesty. But I don't think they need to get married. To be honest, I don't know why they need to do that. The gay culture has always been somewhat of a rebellion, and I don't see the need to now have a white picket fence and get married like the rest of us. I've been married many times, and if I was to give any advice to any gay person, it would be like, don't do it. Don't do it.
Okay, well, speaking of marriage, you're now on your third marriage, and Laura Bush really supported literacy when she was First Lady. Michelle Obama, childhood obesity. Do you know what your wife would make as her signature issue if she was First Lady of the United States of America?
I think Melania, a great signature issue that she could have is a great pair of tits.
Excuse me?
A great pair of tits.
But what would that do for America?
Well, what can a great pair of tits not do for America?
Well, how is that going to help poor people or young children growing up?
Well, give them something to look up to and aspire to. And, you know, for a young man, he'll be like, I want that in my life, somewhat of a model, mentor, wife figure. And for women, that is what an ideal pair of tits looks like, and they would know that. So
if she was First Lady, she would be promoting great pairs of tits.
Great pairs of tits, really great ones.
Okay, wow, this is really quite a surprising interview, Mr. Trump.
You're welcome.
Can you also say, I mean, you say now your wife would be promoting a great pair of tits. What role would the rest of your family have, your sons, et cetera? They've been very active in your campaign once you reach the White House.
That's a very good question, and thank you very much for asking it. You're doing a wonderful job. My family are wonderful. It's going to be fabulous to have them in the White House should I get there. And there's going to be many great jobs for them. Donald Jr., I think, would make a great Secretary of State. I think he'd be great for that job. Eric, you know, doesn't quite have the brains of Donald. I'd maybe make him in charge of special needs kids in the United States.
But let me just stop you for a second. Since JFK's promoted RFK to be the Attorney General, I think it's not legal anymore to have your relative have a cabinet secretary job.
No, we'll see about that. We'll talk to lawyers and see what we can do. There's got to be a way to get him in there. But either way, once he's a part of that, Eric, I think, would be excellent as head of education for special needs children. You know, he's not so smart, Eric. He's a little bit slow. He's a very sweet man, but he's a little bit slow. But it'd be great, that kind of job, because it's not too hard. You're just kind of deciding what they're going to color in for the next week or the next year.
Does Eric know that you think he's slow?
Well, I wouldn't say that to his face.
You're saying it to the world.
That's a very good point. Well, hopefully, he's probably not, he doesn't watch the news. He doesn't watch the news. But he's very sweet. We're going to have lots of pets there for him in the White House, lots of dogs. He loves dogs. He's great. He plays with all the pets. He goes around. You just can't give him a gun. You give him a gun, it's all over. He loves guns. It's not good, but don't give him any guns. He's very sweet, though.
What would he do with a gun?
Well, he might shoot the dogs, you know, the White House dogs. And we're going to have many dogs there for him to play with, but just no guns for Eric.
We'll be talking more about your pets in just a minute. Mr. Trump, what's the biggest charitable donation that you've actually given?
Oh, that's very hard. That's very hard because I've given so many. And I've given some very, very big ones. Very big ones. You know, for all the cancers and the retards and the spastics. And
Retards and spastics?
Yes, and the low, poor people charities that I give money to. I've given many big amounts to the charities. But I think my biggest charity, I mean, when I come to think of it, is my very presence.
Are you aware that we don't use words like retards anymore?
And this is part of my campaign. I am so against this political correctness, this whole PC thing. This is why my campaign is so on fire and it's reaching so many people, is because we're done with the PC. We're done with the political correctness. You know, PC, and I joke to my friends, PC, pussy cunts. That's what it is, and I'm done with it. I'm done with it. We're all done with it. Mike Pence, me, Christie, we're all done with it.
But developmentally disabled people are entitled to vote in this country.
And I hope that they do, for me. Because what do they got to lose? They're like the African Americans. What do they got to lose? They got nothing to lose. I would do such great things for them. I would put my son in charge of what they color in for the next couple of years. The educations.
Color in?
Well, yeah, coloring in, stencils and all that. You know, special needs and what they do. They said, love to color in. That's what I heard.
Okay. Mr. Trump, you know, this is a much more personal question, but we asked a lot of our radio listeners to tell us what they wanted to know. And they wanted to know who does your hair. Do you travel with a stylist and used to share the same stylist as your wife?
Yes, of course, I travel with a stylist. I need a hairstylist. It's one of the things that I need. I got an African-American girl who does it, whose name is not coming. Let's just call her my African-American. She's fabulous. She's fabulous. But of course, me and my wife can't share one because, well, that's a lot of hair to do in a short period of time. We can't have that. But my stylist is wonderful. I take her everywhere with me. You know, it can be a little bit inconvenient because I'm in a lot of cars and planes, but it's fine because she folds right up and you can just put her in your carry-on.
Excuse me, why is it relevant that she's African-American?
Well, it's relevant because, well, that's the only defining feature of her other than she's a woman. And I just don't know her name, to be honest with you.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Trump. Have you ever lied? And if so, when was that?
No. No, I have never lied. Lying is not part of my character. It never has been. You know, I'll tell you, a lot of my friends in high school, they used to give me a nickname because I was so truthful. I mean, I got a lot of nicknames in high school. I was, you know, tumultuous Trump, very tall Trump. They call me talkative Trump, big titty Trump because I love the big titties. Titty Trump, big titty Trump, double D titty Trump, big Dickie Donnie, sticky Dickie Donnie. And then they called me truthful Trump because, you know, I was so truthful that was my nickname.
Now, we all have our makeup done before we go on air.
Sure.
And
yours is great, by the way.
Well, thank you,
beautiful.
and I thank the makeup artists for doing it. But what we've noticed is that a lot of these millennials have tattoos. What do you think of tattoos?
You know, it's a very good question because I've asked this of myself many times. I don't know how I feel about tattoos. Sometimes I see a woman walking down the street with a beautiful back full of tattoos, and I'm, you know, aroused. But there are other times that I see tattoos where I find them kind of, you know, what do you think of tattoos?
Tattoos arouse you?
Well, sometimes, yeah. Well, what do you What, do you disagree?
Now, I'm a first-generation American Jewish woman.
Oh.
I don't do tattoos.
So it's against your religion to wear a tattoo?
It's against everything.
Oh. It's a great shame because you'd look great with a nice leg one right here.
Yeah, maybe it would cover up how fat my legs are.
I'd still appreciate it.
Yeah, that would be nice. So there's been a lot of talk that if you don't become president, there'll be a Trump TV network, and if you do become president, that there will be a Trump TV network run by your children. Do you think it would be successful, and what do you think a Trump TV network would compose of?
Absolutely. I think a Trump TV network would be extremely successful. People love to see me do what I do. They love to follow me around. They love to see my kids do what they do. They love to see me, you know, go to the bathroom, go and get my hair done. They love to watch me do everything. People just are fascinated by me. They're very entertained by me. And I think of that David Beckham thing that Nike did where he fell asleep and they filmed him falling asleep. And I think, you know, they could do that with me, but I don't think Ivanka would approve.
And if you're president of the United States, you can't...
Sorry, not Ivanka, Melania, excuse me.
If you're president of the United States, you can't do Trump TV other than giving to everybody else in the press room. So what would you do if you're president of the United States with Trump TV?
If I was president of the United States with Trump TV, well, they just follow me around, watch me do president stuff, make big decisions, you know, bomb people. They would be right, I mean, it'd be great television, it'd be right in the decision room, you know.
Bomb people?
Well, you had different countries, different annoying people, you know, different people. You know, when the big decisions come in, like Mr. Trump, should we shoot these people? Do you want us to bomb them? And I'd be sitting there, and you could, you know, the music would come through, this great music. I'd have like a great, you know, Hans Zimmer type soundtrack on me close up, and I would be just thinking, you know, do I drop the bomb? Do I do it? And this is reality TV in actual time. That's great. People would want to watch that. People would want to watch that. So absolutely, if I'm president, Trump TV would definitely be happening.
Well, what would you do with the other press, members of the press corps?
They'd be out of a job. Frankly, I wouldn't care. I don't like the press. I don't like them. The way they treat me, the way they talk. You know, you've said some very mean things about me in the past. And, you know, I forgive you. It's nice to sit down with you, to be honest. But, you know, the press, as far as I'm concerned, if they lose their jobs, fine. They'd make great landscapers. They could mow lawns.
I couldn't mow a lawn.
You had the stature of a lawnmower.
I think the lawnmower is too big for me.
I've seen Mexicans your size push a lawnmower pretty damn well.
But speaking of Trump TV and other media, what role would Howard Stern play in your administration? Would you make him head of the FCC?
No. Howard Stern, it's funny. Howard Stern is a very good friend of mine. I like him very much. You know, we like to talk on the phone and talk about sexy things. I've been on his show a number of times, talk about women and, you know, naughty issues. What I love about Howard Stern is, and the only thing I can think that he could possibly play in my administration is a human microphone because of his curly hair. He's just got that great head of hair, and it looks like a microphone. And I would just walk around with him and like tap him on the head and say, hey, is this thing on?
That's what you would do with Howard Stern?
That's what I would do with him. I can't think of anything else to do with him.
Okay, that's very interesting, Mr. Trump. Did you dance with Hillary Clinton at your wedding?
I did. In all honesty, she's not a very good dancer. She's a very sweet woman, but she was very drunk, and that, to be honest, that's how she got her nickname, Crooked Hillary. It's not because of the lies and the emails and the horrible policies and the Wall Street speeches that she does for so much money, quite frankly. It's not because of that. It's because of how she danced with me in my wedding. She was crooked. She was falling all over. I was dancing the pachanga with her. I was doing a fabulous job. But she can't dance, quite frankly.
Did you ask her to dance?
I did. I asked her to dance. I mean, well, it was a mutual agreement that kind of happened with our bodies, as sometimes happens on dance floors. And when the pachanga music came on, it was just this magic.
So it was a magical dance?
It was a magical moment when we started the dance, and then we started the dance. She got very crooked, started falling over on me. Lucky I'm a very strong man, got a great upper body strength. I held her upright, and I danced the pachanga with her.
Now, speaking of dancing, if you do not win for President of the United States, will you be on Dancing with the Stars? Would you agree to go on that?
You know, I have a lot of plans. for if I'm not president of the United States. I don't know about going on Dancing with the Stars. I have thought about maybe going and applying for the head of the UN. I think I could do that job. I've seen that Kofi Annan guy. He just basically impersonates Morgan Freeman. I think I could easily do that job.
He hasn't been there for a long time.
Well, you know, but when he was there, I mean...
Mr. Ban Ki-moon now.
Well, yes, but neither was Morgan Freeman. Hasn't been around for a long time. They kind of had their heyday at the same time. Morgan Freeman was doing Shawshank Redemption, and Kofi Annan was in there. He was doing a great job, but Kofi Annan was definitely impersonating Morgan Freeman the entire time. Yeah, and then Hanky Moon, what's his name?
Ban Ki-moon.
Ban Ki-moon. Ban Ki-moon. He shouldn't tell people that. That's a very embarrassing name, Ban Ki-moon. But
Mr. Ban is what they call him in South Korea.
Mr. Ban.
Yeah.
That sounds delicious. Mr. Ban. If I don't get to be the head of the UN, I would start my own religion. I think that would be fabulous. Starting my own religion, you know, helping cure people of traumas, you know, creating a way to communicate properly. I would set up a full...
Starting their own religion has already been done by L. Ron Hubbard when he started Scientology.
Yeah, but he didn't pull it off as well as I think I could. I would start a whole story that the universe has been in existence for trillions of years and that we're fighting this evil overlord named Xenu. It's a top-of-the-line idea. Please don't steal it.
I have other things to do, Mr. Trump. What pets, you talked earlier that you would have lots of dogs in the White House, that you're afraid your son might shoot the dogs. Mm-hmm. What pets would you bring into the White House?
Oh, all pets. I love pets. I love all types of animals, all types. Let them all in. That's what I say.
Like, can you be more specific?
Well, gerbils, goldfish, dogs, cats, pigs, horses, donkeys, the miniature horses, Shetland ponies, gorillas, monkeys of all types.
Gorillas on the White House lawn?
Sure. Gorillas, monkeys, all the African types, the lions, the tigers, the bears. Oh my.
Who would keep all of these animals for you?
Well, Eric, he loves it.
Now, there has been a tradition. The American turkey growers has asked the president to pardon one turkey and a backup turkey every year at the White House. Would you continue to pardon the turkey?
Would I continue to pardon the turkeys? I think I would continue to pardon the turkeys. You know, it's a very big country. It's in a very difficult spot where it is because, you know, it's right in the middle of all the Islams, really. And I think they could use some help, and I'm going to pardon the turkeys because, you know, they're an Islam's nation, but they're also kind of secular, but they're not two Islams. So I think we pardon them.
I was talking about the bird, not the country.
Well, let's pardon all of them. Pardon the turkeys of all types, the country and the bird.
Okay. My last set of questions has to do with what is going on in ISIS, and since you brought up Turkey the country, as opposed to Turkey the bird, the question is, the Syrian army has now been backed, it looks like Russia, perhaps Iranian militias, in terms of the siege of Turkey. And what 4 specific steps might you take when you have almost 250,000 people at risk right now to save those people in Syria?
4 specific steps.
Yes.
How long have I got?
As long as you need.
Okay.
Our last question.
Let's say I've got an hour. My first step of the 4, I would take a shower to think, because it helps me, it clears my mind. My second step, I would make a cup of tea, Earl Grey, with a little bit of milk and some honey. My third step would be to drink. The second step was to make the tea. The third step would be to drink the tea. The fourth step in solving this horrible crisis would be to call somebody who knows what to do. Maybe Colon Powell. I call him Colon on purpose because he's a colon. He's the last step of digestion before you do a poo.
I do have one more question for you before I ask you for your final thoughts, Mr. Trump. Why do you think ISIS is so appealing to these young people?
You know, I don't understand it. I really don't understand it as an appeal. They've got those big beards and they ride around in cars and they shoot stupidly in the air and they wave those stupid flags and wear the funny hats. And they're so ugly. Who would want to be part of a group that is so ugly? And I don't understand the appeal at all. I don't understand why young people would want to go, you know, and join these idiots. And so it is my plan to do away with the appeal by being myself a mentor for young people is like, that's what you could be if you work really hard. You know, it's very hurtful because I talk so much about ISIS, and it puts into people's heads, why does he hate ISIS so much? Maybe we should be nicer to ISIS. Mr. Trump is so mean to ISIS. And I heard somebody say the other day, it's very hurtful, they said, ISIS is to Islam what Donald Trump is to Western civilization.
That's quite a statement.
And, well, it hurt. It hurt quite a lot, I got to tell you.
What does it feel like when you hurt?
When I feel pain, you would appreciate this as a Jewish woman. I put on my sackcloth and I just sprinkle ashes over myself in mourning of my sadness.
Last question, Mr. Trump, which is, what else would you like the audience listening to this to know?
I want the audience at home to know that I am going to work very, very hard to make America great and safe again. And there are other things that not just great and safe. I want to make it fabulous. I want to make it so good, so fantastic, fabulous. Thinking of other words. You got anything? Make America something again. What do you like?
Fair and balanced.
Fair and balanced. Anything else? I don't know.
Good for anybody who doesn't have what everybody else has.
Good for anybody who doesn't have what anybody else has. Yeah.
Our poor people.
Poor people.
Have the same avenues to get an education.
Right.
To get a job.
Like Bernie Sanders, so poor. He's so poor. He's so poor he has to go into politics to try to get a free education. That's how poor he is.
Okay, Mr. Trump, thank you very much.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
And we've just been speaking with Donald Trump. This is an interview where I've gotten to ask him some questions that were put forth by our radio audience. Thank you very much for watching and listening. I'm Ellen Ratner.